right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to September's edition of Scripting the Book. This month, we read and watched The Martian, or we had it in our memory and didn't need to read and watch it again. One of the two. Um, I'm going to let my fabulous co hosts introduce themselves, my wonderful book club buddies. We're going to start with Ben and swing it on around back to me. Go ahead, Ben. Take it away.
Hey, I'm Ben Pick. Every Monday night, I host Running to Write on YouTube, where I give questionable writing advice through running metaphors. And I also am an author of these books behind me. They are an urban fantasy portal adventure story of a group of friends that get closer as they face greater and greater challenges. And yeah, that's all I got for me.
All right.
Perfect. I've been sick, so the fact that my voice sounds semi-normal is great. I am Natalie Locke. You can find me on YouTube once a month doing Flash Fiction Live with my co-author, Chandra Author, because we co-authored 1,000 Words to Get Started. It comes out this November. You can still pre-order. And there is going to be another one in the series called 1,000 Words to Ignite Romance. So you'll notice a theme. But what's the most awesome thing, sorry, I got to do this, is stickers in the back so that you can do like I did on the first page because I'm impatient. Throw your stickers on there and there's your 10 words to use in your flash fiction. So yeah, really excited. Things actually moving, can physically touch things instead of just looking at a digital file. But yeah, once a month, do Flash Fiction Live, and I'm a big proponent of that. It's almost becoming my identity, but that's fine because I get to genre hop with that.
Nice. And you're here on my channel. I am Nia, the Vixen of Fiction, all over the internet. I write and I draw things. I'm a mom of four and a Loki mom. And I'm excited to hop into The Martian. I'm just going to, I know we do the like, dislike and everything, but I'm just going to start off by saying this is one of my favorites. So you can kind of figure out where I'm going to be on the scale of things. So we're going to start with our likes, dislikes. I'm eyeballing anybody who's.
Can we just start with love and work our way back?
We might as well. So
you got to build up to it, though. You can't.
We got to build the intensity, I'm ready to see if someone's not with me on this. All right. Dislike, I'm watching everybody. If you're in the audience, I'm watching you too. Neutrals.
Judge-free zone, I swear.
Swear. Totally judge-free. Like, anybody alike? Going once, going twice. And love. Who loved this one? Oh my gosh. Yeah. So let's just hop right in. Who wants to start with why they loved it? Go for it, Ben. Who's that hand?
Ben, you usually have to talk about how you dislike first.
I know.
So, Ben, please talk about why you love this.
All right. This book is fantastic. It is a gripping drama about survival. It's got nerdy science that is really in depth, but at the same time kind of dumbed down for anybody to sort of pick up and read, which I still don't understand how Andy Weir wrote that so that it's not like the most boring thing ever, because we are essentially reading just a textbook of how to survive in a place designed to kill you, and it's just fantastic. And it also is all about the human condition and bringing an entire planet together to achieve something so small. And it would have been, in real life, it would have been so easy to say, well, he's gone, like there's nothing we can do about it, just kind of cut our losses. But instead, it shows an entire planet coming together. We have foreign nations offering up supplies and just bringing one person home from really the furthest away a person could be for the conceivable future.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to let you go, Natalie. Go for it.
What I really loved about this is similar to what Ben said about like the digestible pieces of like science and physics and such, as well as breaking down the laws of like maritime law and everything, just like little things that you wouldn't think about. I thought it was hilarious, and for me, it's the sarcasm and like the references of like I think there was one, and I might be saying it wrong. Don't worry, this isn't really a spoiler. This is just commentary of it's. I wonder what Watney's going through, and then the next page is Watney going, "Can Aquaman? Is it actual words he says underwater or something like that? It's something about Aquaman, and that's his thought process."
Yeah.
It was, why can he speak to whales because they aren't actually fish or something along those lines?
Right.
Yeah, I'm just like, that was like a beautiful, like, cut flash forward to the next scene situation of like what must be going through his mind. Can Aquaman talk to whales? They're not really fish, like, and everything. And I just thought that was like that is kind of like the whole thing throughout. And the book is just, that's really what connects me. And it's like, I think you summarized it the best. Then I mean, technically you're the only one that said it first. So but the human experience, I really like character-driven stories, and I think that's why I love this story and why I've been so willing to read anything else by Andy Weir. And it continues throughout, character-driven stories. No, Ben, come back.
We lost a Ben. Fingers crossed. I'm sure he just clicked the wrong button, and we'll come right back. There he is. So yeah, I'm going to pick up where both of them left off. Human condition, 100%. It's like I honestly felt like you're there with him. Okay. There's real moments, and then there's moments where you've just got to laugh with him. He's got to laugh at it, and you're just going to laugh with him, but you feel it. You know, it's that laughter like of, what else are we gonna do? And just the realization that you can survive, but it's gonna take a lot of work. Like this dude's so smart. Okay, he is incredibly smart, and the way that he breaks down the science, though, he really does break it down in a way that there are times where he's literally, it's just a page of math that's happening. And, you know, he's doing chemistry equations, and he's saying them out loud, but it's the way that he's saying it. You're with him. Like, I'm terrible at science. I love science things, and I love science fiction as well, but I'm terrible at it. But you're right there with it. I'm like, I'm totally following along. Totally. Yep. And you're like, okay, so we're either going to make water or we're going to make a bomb. You know, it's that situation. And it's his sarcasm. It's his voice. I did hybrid read this the second time. I think I just read it the first time. But I ended up getting the audiobook. So I hybrid read it this time. And oh my gosh, his voice reading it is exactly what you imagine. And I also did see the movie, so I kind of imagined it anyway. But hearing it, so if you're listening via audiobook, it's so well read. The narrator did an excellent job. Like you feel like he is this guy.
I actually did read this on audiobook for once. Usually I do.
Oh, you gotta try. If you haven't tried, give the audiobook a try just to hear his voice.
Because the official one is Will Wheaton, and he's really good with this.
Yes, yeah, that's the one. That's the one I heard. He did a great job with it. And then of course I was also reading it, and I went back and forth between hearing his voice and hearing the actor's voice. We'll get to the movie very shortly, because I think we're just going to gush over the book. So I went back and forth between whose voice I was hearing when I was reading it to myself. So it was really, really great. Enjoyed it. Can I say I enjoyed it more the second time? Probably the anticipation of it, because I'm like, oh, I know what's gonna happen. You know, where normally that could be boring. It wasn't boring in this. because you're like, oh, he's got this, and or oh, he's about to totally, this is not going to go well. And so rereading it wasn't that, oh, okay, I know what's going to happen. I literally was like glued to the page second time around reading it, anticipating, oh, it's almost bedtime, so I get to turn on the audiobook now. It was just such an enjoyable read. One of my favorite books. Yeah, and it was gifted to me. So it was like, yeah, it was like the perfect gift because I was like, oh, I'd heard about this. And so just my kid was like, oh, she said she heard about this. It's Martian. And so I had read it before the movie came out, and was very much anticipating the movie. Does anybody else want to gush about the book anymore? Or
I mean, yeah, for me, it's the sarcasm, really.
Yeah, it was. And just you could feel the friendships. You could feel just because we start with him, and then he doesn't know when we start out. He doesn't know. Does anyone even know he's alive? So that's how we started. So then when we get into all of the other things that Ben mentioned about how you've got this whole world coming together, he goes quite a while without knowing that any of this is happening. So he's got to, in his own mind, think, if they're going to try and save me, I've got to be alive for this to happen. How are we going to make this happen? Where some people might have said, oh, there's no way I'm going to make it 5 years before the next planned scheduled trip is supposed to be. There's no way they're going to spend billions of dollars to come back and get me. So some people might be making different decisions than the decision that he made. You know what I mean? So it's just you're working through all of these things. But it was great. It was fantastic. All right. You're saying some hi to chat. And also thank you guys who come to listen to these with us live. We get most of our views on the rewatch, but if you ever do come to watch one of the lives, we will pop a hello from you. And if you have any thoughts, go ahead and pop your thoughts. If your thoughts go along with what we're talking about, I will pop those comments up on the screen.
If they're against, we'll just screen them before we pop it up.
Yeah, like, do I want to put this person up who says that they didn't like The Martian? Yeah.
Listen, it's channel prerogative.
Yeah. If you did like it, it's fine. It's fine. It's totally fine.
Just, don't rain on our parade.
That's right. That's right. Let's get into the movie next, and then we'll do our comparisons and what we thought about the world building. So, but first, the movie. Anybody a dislike on the movie? We're building up to it. Neutral on the movie? All right, here it comes. Is there anyone who's a like on the movie? Wow. Love. Who loved it? I did. All right.
Is this the first one that's gotten loves on both sides?
I think we've had
for all.
Did the Princess Bride? Did we all love the?
Maybe the Princess Bride.
Maybe the Princess Bride. We'll have to go back and check. We might have had a like to love on that one, but we'll double check.
Yeah, now I'm curious.
I think that this is.
Should we start getting the statistics of how everyone voted and stuff at this point?
Already ahead of you. I actually have a decent amount of information there.
Of course you would, Ben.
We need to do a tier ranking show.
So I just checked. We're pretty close with Holes. Holes was all love for the movie and mostly likes and loves for the book. Or no, I had that backwards.
Holes. Oh.
The book was all loves. The movie was mostly likes and loves.
Yeah.
And then I can go back further. Let's see here. I only did 2024, so sorry.
All right, we're gonna have to go back.
It takes time. It takes time.
Yeah, don't worry, Ben. No pressure, Ben. No pressure. But we need to plan a tier ranking show where we go through and rank our best and worst watches.
But yeah, so the spreadsheet that we have tracking all of our what we've done so far and what we're going to do, I've also added extra columns in there to track how we rated everything.
Nice. I wonder if we ever
Yeah.
go back and change our mind. Like, maybe that wasn't.
Yeah,
the
I
hit
see
thought
a
it was.
done tab and everything. I think actually that'll be good. Dude, I don't mind putting together the data for it, especially because I can put conditional formatting. Sorry, I'm about to nerd out. I can put conditional formatting, and it could be because we're gonna have a lot of like to loves and everything. So we got to have an extra rating for that. But
Right.
if we put conditional formatting, we could even specify who is the most critical reviewer.
Yeah.
So I
And
did
who's
this
the
all
most
numerically.
lenient? I'm probably the most lenient.
So we have 0 is dislike, 1 is neutral, like is 2, and love is 3. So if you do like a like to love, then it's a 2.5. And so thus far this year, we're all pretty positive actually in terms of the books. So we're all above a like for 2024. I am of course the most judicious, we'll say.
Is
And
that
it looks
adding
like,
in Dune for me? Just throwing that one out there.
Yes, there is a
that
0
was a
in
full
there.
on.
There is a 0.
But yeah, and it looks like Nia is the most generally positive of the books we've read.
Yeah.
But let's wait until she reads Pet Cemetery because she's already said.
I think my ranking is gonna drop. I'm feeling
and
it.
Actually, in terms of the movies and shows, Natalie's the most positive, and I am
That kind of checks out. I'm usually like a show. I usually consume shows and movies, and I'm like, yeah, it's fine. And then once someone starts speaking up about the problems, I'm like, oh, yeah, that is the problem.
Yeah.
When I watched it, I didn't see that problem die.
Like, I'm just enjoying it.
Yeah.
Here.
Oh,
by far, Damsel was the least rated of our movie and shows for this year.
Which one?
Damsel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Followed by
So much potential.
Dune was also not rated the highest for us.
For all of us? Wow.
All of us,
yeah.
But also that's...
We all had our problems with it.
Yeah.
For the this is for the movies and shows. Sorry.
Okay.
We should say this for like a recap at the end of the year, by the way.
Yes, we are going to do this. Now that we... let me know if you need help, like, going back through our... I was about to say discography, but it's not on disc, but YouTubeography. And on searching up data and everything, and I'll help.
Sure.
Awesome. All right, guys. You guys got the inside scoop. We're going to make this happen.
So we love the book.
We love
the movie.
We love the movie. Wow. Yes. All right. So let's do our movie only spoilers for people who still want to hear our thoughts on the movie but want to go back and read the book. We're going to do movie spoilers only, and then after this though, guys, we're diving all in. What did we think about this movie?
I'll jump in on this one. So the movie, since apparently I'm the one that is nice to movies, the movie, having music is just so key to me in movies, and you get that extra depth of pulling you in. And so when music is chosen to be added versus when it just like is completely silent for space, like both carry the same weight, and that's really helped. And even to the point, I will say, okay, movie spoilers only, I will say, getting 70s disco, I started to hate it by the end. All right, like I was on the same page. I was like, dear God. I would feel like I was feeling for Wani 100%. But that's like when it comes to movies that really sells it. And for me, it was just, I mean, it wasn't just 70s music that they were playing, but they also had, just the normal orchestra to set the tone type stuff. Yeah. And that's usually well done no matter what, usually.
Yep. You want to take it away, Ben?
Sure. I just have two things to say. So obviously I love this. I was amazed at how well Marky Mark was able to portray somebody of extreme intelligence. Not a knock against him, but like you have so many people who would bump. Like I couldn't read what he's saying fast enough to make it sound believable, like an actual conversation. Like it's words that you regularly use and you're not just reading from a script. So he like nailed.
Marky Mark, who?
I thought Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg.
When was he in
Mark?
this?
Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch?
Yes, but when I don't remember seeing Mark Wahlberg in this film whatsoever.
Who am I thinking of?
It's Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah,
okay, I was.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like.
Yeah, I just had major brain fart there. Sorry.
Okay,
yeah, Matt Damon.
Everyone's looking at me, and I'm like, am I crazy?
Okay. No. You're absolutely right. It is Matt Damon, not Marky Mark.
I will say his character name is Mark Watney, so I mean,
right.
Totally
oh, were we doing?
I just got crossed, but still, like to have him say so many engineering phrases and like the specific scientific terms without fumbling through it, like I'll compare it to The Flash on CW, where you have these brilliant people who at times it sounds so unnatural for them to be saying in conversation the physics behind how, you know, superpowers work. And so here you have somebody sorry, I've lost all my steam since I was completely erroneous there. But
he's talking about the calculations.
Right, the calculation. Yeah. And I mean, he says it, you know, he says it perfectly. He's going to science the everything out of everything, but it's also, it sounds so natural coming from him. And so the other thing I'll say is that I watched the movie first and then I saw the book and then, you know, watched it again. And the first time I saw the movie, I thought they hired Sean Bean and they just decided to throw some random phrase in there about the Council of Elrond. And so I'm like, oh, great, you know, blah, 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 whatever. And then I find out that I was actually wrong because it was in the book. So maybe it was, they read that and they're like, oh, well, we got to get Sean Bean for that one Council of Elrond scene. Because, you know, Lord of the Rings reference right there.
Yeah.
I, again, loved the cultural references.
The Iron Man, the Lord of the Rings. And I loved the person in the room who didn't get the Lord of the Rings reference and was like, what are you guys talking about? And they're all like, huh? How do you not know what we're talking? It's just, it was played perfectly.
I mean, because you take that conversation and it can apply to any group of people where like you got some really big fans that are making references and there's always one person in the room that somehow was able to dodge the pop culture bullet. Like the fact that I can meet people that never read Harry Potter or even seen the movies, or I'm like, how? Like at least most people at least saw the movies, right? Yeah. And stuff. And same thing for Lord of the Rings. Yeah, I tried with the books, totally at least watch the movies. And The Hobbit and everything, like I can tell you everything. But for people to have dodged that, I am amazed at their skills.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a great human moment for sure. Because that can relate to anybody, never mind science talk and such.
Yeah. I loved what you said earlier about how the music and the silence, and whether it's the orchestrated music or whether it's the music that he's playing. It's funny because when we rewatched it as a family, we're like, you could tell the ones who were like, oh no, not the disco again, and the ones of us who were like, these are total bangers. What is he talking about? This is great. So that was funny. Yeah. And then there's a part where he's trying to return, so he's in space and he's been knocked out, and you just hear the little like screws and bolts just tink. It's so quiet, you just hear the little tink on his helmet, and they're like, Watney, are you there? Wake up, are you there? Trying to, because you know it's a lot of G-forces pulling against him. Totally knocked him out. And it's like rewatching it again, I'm like, that tarp's not gonna hold. What are we doing? Like the panic is still there. Like, is this gonna be okay? Like you're literally launching yourself into space. Are you going to be okay? Of course, I'm like, I read the book and I've seen it. Of course, I know what's going to happen, obviously, but it's still so intense. It's so intense. And and very well played, very well acted. I just seeing a lot of the actors again, seeing them 10 years younger, was pretty cool. And just remembering, oh yeah, some of these people who, especially the comedians, it's like some of these people are serious actors. Yes. So, and they all did excellent job. So I loved it. Let's start comparing and getting into the world building and how we think it all came together. So let's go ahead. Full spoilers, so we're going to be in book spoilers too for anybody who wants to read the book. Go back and read it and then come back and let us know what you think. So we're comparing the book to the show, thoughts on the world building, characters, and execution in The Martian. I'll go first this time since I let you guys go first last time. Yeah, Mars looked like in my mind what I think Mars is going to look like. So I love the way that everything looked. I liked that we didn't try to go super futuristic with it, because this could be the very near future, you know, where we weren't trying to make the computers look super like we're just saying maybe this is only 10 years from now, even though tech is changing so quickly. I didn't feel like the fact that it didn't look like it was however many years in the future or whatever, that I like the way that it looked normal, but it's like this is where we're at. Scientifically, we're already putting people on Mars. So everything looked like I imagine it should look. And so for world building, I thought it was great. I was immediately like, I'm right there. Yep, we're good. We're right there. The acting, I can't really think of any actors that I just thought dropped the ball. If they did, I didn't notice it because they were carried by the others. So everybody seemed, if you were an awkward geeky person, you seemed like an awkward geeky person. If you seemed like a jerk who's like about the bottom line, you know, you seem that like that person. And I just, Matt Damon, to me now, he is Mark Watley. I can't see anybody else than him for Watney. So I'm like, we're good. We're good as far as characters go. They are who they are to me now. This is when I can't even imagine if they ever did a remake. Like, I'm like, but those are the people though. And normally I'm like, oh, someone else is going to give it a try. This time I'm like, no, these are the people. So yeah, I love the way it all came together. It looked like the book. It looked like the book. There were a few changes, and we can get to that. We're going to do best and worst changes, but there were a few changes, and for me, it all worked. Especially when we're talking, the movie was already 2 hours and 15 minutes. So anything that was shortened or cut, it all worked. There was one part that I don't know why, but as I was reading, I was like, wait, I don't remember this. And I went back and I'm like, oh, okay, because it was cut. Because it's rare that things go so close to the book that you then go, wait a minute, did I go get a cup of water? Did I miss that? Oh, no, I didn't miss it. They actually condensed this. And then it just kept on rolling. The flow kept going. So I'm a happy camper with the way that it came out. And again, usually if everything is too close to the book, I tend to get bored because I'm like, oh, I know what's going to happen. Okay. Didn't
Except
happen.
for Good Omens.
Yeah. Exactly. Sometimes it works really great, and sometimes I'm like, surprise me a little. Go ahead and change a few things up. Let me see a little bit of your own personality in whatever the source material was. This is one of those times where sticking pretty closely to the book it just worked. And I don't know if it's because it's almost like a historical piece, just like when we know about Apollo 13, we know about the Challenger. It's like, but I could read about it and watch it and still feel you know what's going to happen to the Challenger. Some of us were little bitty kids, but we saw it on the TV screen, so we know it's gonna, and you still get that same feeling, even though you know what's going to happen. So rereading it and watching it again is kind of like that. It doesn't matter that I know what the outcome is going to be. It's just so engaging to watch. So that's my long-winded thoughts on how it compared. Who wants to go next?
Ben, you haven't gone second in a while, it seems.
I was about to say the exact opposite, but that's fine. Sure. So yeah, the characters, I feel like obviously they need to make some changes between the book to the movie, so that way it carries through. So some of the characters were a bit more subdued. They weren't outright hostile as they were in the book. Other characters might have been a little bit less important than they were in the book. But, that's perfectly fine. Like you said, it's a 2-hour runtime, so they need to make some cuts. The one thing that I feel like they couldn't have added it in because it would have added in so much extra time, but it was really cool to read in the book. Because, again, I watched the movie first, and then I read the book. And in the book, Mark needs to go from one location to another on Mars. And in the middle of it, he gets caught up in a sandstorm. And so there's like this huge buildup for chapters of everybody seeing, by the way, we see where he is. But the communication's down, so he can't get a hold of him, and he's going right into a sandstorm, and he's not going to figure it out because by the time he's too far in, just the way that the science works, like he wouldn't realize that he's into the storm until it's too far to turn around because everything is solar powered, and it was like a light dust storm until you get into the thick of it, and at which point you wouldn't be able to get out. And it's really cool having in the book him discover. Like he comes to a valley and he looks across it and he's like, oh no, there's, I can't see all the way across even though I should. And so he starts doing calculations and he has to like do trigonometry to figure out which way he needs to head. So he sets up 3 different waypoints to figure out and to measure the
where the
light that gets
coming from.
Yeah, the light that gets filtered through, which is a really cool solution to a problem that now that the answer is given to me, it makes perfect sense. But like in the moment, I would have had no idea how to solve there, and I just wouldn't, SOL.
Yeah, that's the sequence that I went back because there is one more thing that also happens after that. So I was like, it felt like a big chunk to cut out, but honestly, we're fine without it.
And it wouldn't have been cinematic too. It would have been him just standing there looking like, oh, it's I can't see out there, so let me just go back to the thing, go back to the big vehicle, drop off 3 different waypoints, and then just take measurements.
Yeah, but the next part that happens after that would have probably been, but I feel like it would have taken too long to get him in the situation and get out, where he then rolls the rover because he sinks it and then rolls it. Then they would have had so now. Where I feel like it would have been dramatic to watch, but then it just would have taken so much time that now he's got to fix some things and get the things so he can pull it out and then just get right back on his merry way again. So I was like, I get it. But I did go back to the movie to make sure that I'm like, oh, that it felt like a big chunk.
It was
to have been left out. But I was honestly okay without seeing it because I had no idea that.
And that's the thing.
It was the big like thing to happen in the third act, or to kick off the third act. Really, is what it was for the book.
Yeah.
And I mean, for a solid third of the book, they're like, oh, he's heading toward this dust storm, and so it's this massive buildup of what's he going to do? Is he going to find out about it? And then it turns out that yes, he gets himself in and out of the situation. But in the book, it's a lot bigger. Obviously, and in the movie, it makes sense that they cut it. So
yeah, exactly. Natalie, what are your thoughts?
So world building exactly as it was. The only time that I felt that it wasn't present time was at the very end of the movie, where he's teaching the class and the lights were coming, the way the lights were with the desk. I was like, that's a little different for a classroom. Like it, and the kids running past him when he's sitting on the bench. Like it kind of had this like Space Academy feel to it and everything. And that's the only time that it felt futuristic. As in not now.
Like,
but
this
like
couldn't
you
be,
said,
like,
you're
right
like,
now.
I could see this like 10 years in the future. I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
totally. So for the characters, I thought casting was great. I do know the internet had issues with some ethnicity changes a bit.
Yeah.
But I still felt that the cast was diverse in the movie, and I thought it was great, especially jumping into other countries as well. And then the execution of, I mean, they used actual lines from the book to keep with the sarcasm. And I thought that staying true to that aspect was spot on in the right choice. Because, I mean, yeah, they could have rewritten it and just kept the plot, but to pull the actual dialogue, it was a smart choice by them. I'm trying to think.
Or to update the disco into something, I don't know, 90s alternative or something along those lines.
Yeah, like
that
yeah, because technically, I mean, this was published, I want to say like
2011.
Okay, so I mean, God, we're over 10 years removed from it, so they could have bumped it up to 80s hairband or something like that. But
but the book takes place in what, 2050?
Maybe, I don't remember.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm glad they didn't change that. Because yeah, you're gonna with the audience, movies hit more people than books do, in my opinion. Unfortunately, but I'm glad we at least books get highlighted when a movie comes out, and the book sales go up too. So that's nice. But you're gonna isolate more people if you bumped up the music, and like, because there's a lot of us that will die on an 80s hill. 70s, it's a little older and not as popular, and I will say at least they grabbed the popular 70s songs. They didn't grab like obscure ones. And like what's really funny is that most of the songs they played as disco, I was like, I never thought I liked disco, but I like these songs.
Yeah,
I never associated them with disco.
My husband had a very similar reaction to the disco music, because I'm like, but yeah, you still know all the words and they're still bobbing your head, Betty.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So that's why me and one of the kids were like, these are total bangers, but you have to stop complaining.
Yeah,
it's great. Mark got a great playlist. But yeah, there would be some songs that if those were the songs, that'd be like, oh gosh, not this one again. But yeah, I mean, and the movie plays us out to "I Will Survive." Who doesn't love that?
Oh yeah. The one thing that I enjoyed, and it was in the book and the movie, so it's fine. Is because we've had this before with other books where we just got one side in the book, like only first person, and in the movie we got to see other characters. But in the book and in the movie, we got to jump to NASA. We got to jump to Watney. Like we weren't in one place.
Yeah.
So hi Sacco. So I liked that aspect, and that's really goes back to Andy Weir, like being mindful of jumping around and what needs to be captured on the page. Because I know some people they would have just focused on Watney, and I feel the story really is more than just Watney.
Yeah. I had actually been thinking about that. Like, what would this movie be without us knowing that everybody back home was trying to save him? And I feel like it would be an interesting take either way. Like you could take it where you've got these people, we only know what's happening on Earth, and so we only know how he's doing when Earth finally makes that initial communication with him. And so I feel like it would be interesting if we only had Earth's perspective. Likewise, it would be very interesting if we only had Watney's perspective. I think it would work either way, but as good as it could have been with just having their perspective, the fact that we get both, it just coalesces in something absolutely amazing. But I feel like I could just read or listen to, you know, his his transmissions where he's saving his logs, and that would be fascinating in and of itself. And maybe not really know what's going on Earth, and still be completely fascinated with where he's at. Likewise, the same way, if I only had what Earth knows, like if we didn't know exactly what Watney was going through, but just their thoughts on what they feel, what they think. We know he's doing this because we're watching these movements. We finally have some community, or we lost communication with him. Oh my gosh. And to not have that, we know he's okay. I feel like that too would be absolutely fascinating. But I love the way that it was done. So, like, you can't undo it, because it was just so great. The way that it was with that back and forth was just so great. But I could see how it would be completely interesting if we only had one or the other as well. Anybody else have any thoughts? And then we'll talk about we'll get a little bit more into the changes with our best and worst.
I'll just caveat that the changes, yes, like I understand where majority of people are coming from, but I still love it. Okay, I understand. I just disagree.
All right, let's go get. Anybody else want to give some thoughts on their changes before we do best and worst?
I just want to say that it was 2035 that this story takes place, not
2030. So it is the very near future. I thought it was like maybe 10. Well, it would have been 20
I'm gonna
years.
start calling you Ziggy.
I know.
You're the computer that gets all the answers.
Yeah. Like, I've got the answer.
Be like, actually, I've been tracking our data on.
You told me to like 2 or 3 episodes ago or something.
And he actually did it, which is great. We should just throw random ideas out to Ben, and they'll just get.
Well, it's just and this has happened multiple times where we're like, I'm not sure the first story that did this semblance of blah blah blah, and he goes, well, actually, it was this story.
Yeah.
I'm very good at Googling.
This actor actually portrayed this character in this show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm thinking with so this would have been 25 years at the time that this came, 25 years at the time that the movie came out. So we're almost at 10 years later, which might be why it's running number 4 right now on Max. I think that's where I watched it. But I was honestly surprised when I was like, where to watch it, and it said, you find out what streaming service it's on, and it was like actually up there. It popped up as number 4. I'm like, why is it number 4? This is like 10 years ago. So it's like literally 9 years ago, 2015, when the movie came out. So it's having, I guess, a bit of a resurgence. I don't know.
Oh, I was about Mars, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. So I would say, for the changes that were made, I don't really have a worse change. Like I said, the sequence that is gone, where he's going from where he's made his home base at to where he needs to do the launch. There is a huge chunk that's missing. Fascinating. So if you are like, I'm just going to watch the movie, I don't really want to read the book, go back and read that section. Reading it, I don't know how it would have been had we been watching it, if it would have felt too long, but reading it was just interesting to see him work this out. And it was also interesting to see the anxiety on everybody's, because they can't communicate with him to let him know. So there's a high level of anxiety. It's like, we're doing all this. We've already turned the other spaceship back around. We've already done all this. You don't want to lose them, and it's so close to the end. So they're like, is a storm, is a dust storm really going to be what ends this? It's wild to read it, even though it's not probably the most. It's not like, it's not like a surging hurricane or, you know, massive waves coming in. It's just the slow building thing that's just slowly happening, you know, like the crab that's in the water, and the water's just gradually getting hot, and the crab has no idea that the water is going to be boiling soon. So it's kind of that situation, but it's the slow build that's really, really interesting. And then there's another incident that happens after that. So it's a long sequence in the book versus where you're at in the movie, where you're really coming up on the end. But I understand why it's gone. The other thing that was a bit of a change was, I think they kind of did the same thing early on. So he's got to figure out a way to make water. And whenever you're doing hydrogen and oxygen, you could potentially be making a bomb. So it happens the sequence is very, very quick in the movie, which is great. I think for movie wise, I thought it played out well, but because you kind of know it's gonna happen, you're like, it's like, wait, it didn't happen. Okay. So everything's going to be fine. It feels like it's not going to happen. And then it happens, and it's like, oh. So they just extended out a little bit longer where the sequence happens, where he's actually trying to grow the potatoes. The number of times potatoes mentioned is insane. So those are the times where it's really noticeable. If you're reading the book and watching the movie, you're going to notice that, oh, wait, that's different. But then the thing still happens. So we still get this kind of like explosion where he almost accidentally takes himself out. Not good. So I think I'm okay with both of those changes, but I still find, because we still get the explosion in the beginning, I would want to at least have known about the sequence in the end. But I'm okay with it. I don't know. Anybody else catch anything?
Go for it.
I was trying to find my mute button. I'm like,
she's like, that's not
mute. So I know the biggest change, and we've already talked about it, is that when he's going to the Aries 5, I think, location, or it might be Aries 4 because he was on Aries 3, whichever. It was the next sequential number. That travel in the movie was like, road trip, you know, let's pause and put up the sun panels and everything, solar panels, and then pack up and keep going and everything, and just on and on. Whereas in the book, it drags out a lot longer, and you see
a lot monotonous.
Then the struggle with that storm that we already spoke about, like it is excessive. I'm kind
almost forgot about the battery, the battery drain thing. Like a lot of stuff happened in that sequence. Go back and read it if you're
exactly like it is definitely longer in the book, but I'm also kind of fine because at this point, for the movie side, he's already been through the ringer. Like I feel like we felt the stitches coming out, the almost blowing himself up. Like we felt that in the movie, like really powerful. Like especially, oh my God, when his entire crops just get destroyed. And
I'm still devastated.
And he gets tumbled around, and he's having to duct tape, which one of my favorite lines. Like even NASA realizes that they don't need to reinvent duct tape or make duct tape better. So like he has been through the ringer, and so I'm kind of fine cutting that. But I know the internet, like I did a search of like comparing it, and everyone's like, oh my God, I wish they included that. And I'm like, honestly,
that would have been at least 20 minutes of extra.
Exactly. And we already dealt with 2 storms. The storm that like knocked him away from his party and everyone thought he was dead, and then the storm that broke his had site or whatever that ruined all the plants and stuff. So adding a 3rd storm, it's just, it would have been a little monotonous. In the book, it's done great. I would not change anything in the book. But I think it was a smart decision. The other thing that the internet had issues with is character ethnicities being changed. The so
Was it
Mindy
Kapoor?
Park?
Oh, Mindy Park. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm trying to remember which character that was. But she was supposed to be Korean American, and Andy Weir actually stated he imagined her as Korean, but that Mackenzie Davis, I think that's the girl that was the computer person.
The computer nerd who's
Yeah.
Is she the one who first noticed the change? Like, hey,
No, I meant the computer specialist part of the crew.
Okay, on the actual.
I think that might be Mackenzie Davis. I don't know. Okay. It also could be the girl that saw Watney's and Between the Souls and was like, oh, I think he's alive.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But yeah, her character was changed. Yeah, there was arguments that the only characters that remained Asian is because they had to be, like Bruce, who goes to China to work with China. And then there was another, I think Vincent was actually supposed to be a different ethnicity.
Is he the one who was Kapoor in the book? Yeah. See, normally I feel like if you're gonna, I prefer for if they're already an ethnicity in the book to go ahead and leave it. I don't mind a change if you're just trying to add a little bit more, because once you start seeing things on screen, you start noticing the lacking. So even though I'm happy with the actors, I think that they all did great. Usually when if you're gonna be swapping things out and changing them out, I prefer for that to be done to make things a little bit more diverse, or not less, or necessarily swapping out one, because then why are we swapping out one ethnicity for a different one? I don't know. You know what I mean? It doesn't always make sense. But I still feel like the book to the movie, it still both were fairly diverse. So I don't really have complaints about the amount of diversity in it. I felt like they were both still pretty diverse, pretty realistically diverse as well. So, but I can certainly understand if someone feels like because hello, didn't see it all the time where you're like, you have an ethnic person and you took them away, so yeah, I can definitely understand why some people would feel like that's not cool. So totally get that.
Yeah.
That's all I got. So Ben?
Yeah.
I was going to say, as for me, obviously it would have been cool to have seen him flip the car or get lost in a sandstorm, but that would have vastly lengthened the movie, and I don't know how they could have even shown that in it. Well, the flipping car would have been interesting, but it would have just been like one more ordeal for him to go through. And again, he goes through a lot once he gets there too, because once he actually takes off, he's basically got like a tarp as the cover as he's breaking orbit, and there are enough trials and tribulations for him to go through that one more thing would have just not added much to it, which I'm fine with them cutting it. So that makes perfect sense in my mind. But I do think that's cool that the movie had, in my opinion, kind of a better ending than the book did. Because in the books, he meets with like a special consultant, and they're like, hey, by the way, you're not going to go back with NASA, but we're essentially SpaceX before SpaceX was really that popular. And we'd love to send you up there, use your expertise as a consultant, and we can get you back up into space. And, him being an astronaut, him always being compelled to see the stars, that kind of makes sense for the version of the book. But I thought it was really cool in the movie how instead he shifts to, I want to teach others to survive on Mars, and we're going to eventually, colonize or whatever. But here is a course I'm teaching on how to cultivate the red planet.
Yeah. There's one other change I want to talk about and see how do we feel about it. The how of the rescue, the final, we've got him. with who gets him out, and the mention of the Iron Man versus the actual doing the Iron Man.
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad he did the Iron Man. Not gonna lie, it was kind of cool seeing him poke the hole in the outfit and then bang around the room for a few seconds. If it had gone perfect, it would have maybe felt a little unrealistic. But the fact that he does it and he's got to hold the hole and he actually like shoots around and bangs it a little bit, kind of made it feel a little bit more real. And then who actually, the whole dramatic of he's got to, they barely, the whole almost gets him locking the hands and he's got to grab the rope, and then just seeing is she the captain, just starting to tangle him up so that he can't, so that he's getting caught up in the things that they can pull him in. Are we okay with that change? Because it was different.
It's cinematic, I'll say that much.
Yeah.
I coming from it's a movie. Yeah, totally. Let's have it. Like, this is where we get to explore and stuff like that. From a scientific point of view and from everything that I've read about it, this could not happen, would not happen, and should not happen in the way that it's depicted in the movie.
If you're ever stuck on Mars, don't do this maneuver. So it should have, the way it was done in the book was proper for them to say, do not poke a hole in your thing and try to shoot out. Don't do that.
There's so many movies in the past that show that someone like gets something faulty in their suit and they immediately freeze in space. So like this part, I admit, for me, I was just like, knowing other stories, genre type things, this was difficult for me to wrap my head around, but I enjoyed it and laughed, especially because his whole thing was like, see, I want the schools to be named after me.
Yeah. Yeah. Cinematically, it worked. But reading it, I love the way it was done in the book. The drama of it all, especially because it's something that you could do relatively quickly, and we did lose all of the drama of that last trek to the next station, where the batteries accidentally get drained, so now his solar panels aren't going to work and things aren't going to work, the rolling of the rover, and then the dust storm. So we lose those three, which would have been quite long. But we're gaining this dramatic end. I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it. I don't know. Would it have been as cinematic? I think it would have been more just as heartfelt if they'd have gone in. One of the guys had gone into the thing and grabbed him. You still get that tugs at the heart kind of moment, but it would have played differently for sure. Any other thoughts? Let's go to final thoughts, and then I think we're done, guys. Final thoughts on this one? What would you say to the folks out there who are wondering, should I read it? Should I watch it?
Okay, so I highly recommend reading it. And because I did this, for anyone who doesn't know, I have a TikTok where I, in my TikTok series is picture versus book. And it's just to say, if you are in the beautiful position of where you have both media and you don't know which one to consume first, the movie or the book, I let you know. Not saying one's better than the other. I will never say that. In this case, the one I say to consume first is the book. But they're both top tier for me. And they are both repeat. I have repeated multiple times. Both of them, twice on the book, like 6-7 times on the movie, but that's just because of what time I'm allotted to consume it. So yeah, it's a repeat one for me. It's up there.
Yeah, I for the most part agree. I mean, I don't think it really matters which one, whether you read it first or whether you watch it first. They're both fantastically entertaining. They both actually mesh really well together. So if you do one, definitely follow it up with the other. And you know what? Why not throw in a third one? Because we mentioned, Nia, that you were doing the audiobook, and Will Wheaton's portrayal in there is fantastic. So go for a trifecta. Yep. Read, watch, and listen to.
Yep. I totally agree. Read, watch, listen. all of the above, whichever one you can get your hands on, do it. Totally worth it. It's one that, give a few months, maybe a year, I will probably dive into again. It had been a while since because I saw the movie shortly after it came out. Whenever it hit streaming, I saw it. I read the book before the movie came out. And I think I'd gone through the book one other time, just picked it up and just felt like, oh, let me just read a little bit. So it's one I will definitely pick up. And now that I've got the audio version, will definitely, when in the mood, especially for someone, if you love sci-fi, and just the way that he's talking about the science and making it sound interesting. I can't get over it. It's great. It's just really great. So if you're someone who wants to write sci-fi and you just need to hear how it can be done and still be interesting without putting people to sleep and not going overboard, even though they talk about it, there's so much of it in here, and it's not boring. It's just totally not boring. Anyway, can't say enough. Definitely read, watch, listen, all of the above. All right, so we are going to talk now about what's coming up for October. On October 20th, we are going to do Pet Sematary. I've got to, hopefully, fingers crossed, I can find an audio version of this one. I might have a better chance of getting through it. It's weird to me. I don't like the creepy or the gory or the spooky. I like fun spooky. But this one was, I know it's weird. I saw the movie a long time ago, so it's going to be a weird one for me, but I'm going to give it a try.
Oh, wow.
She's got it. It's just weird. No, cats should not look like that. Come on.
If you don't want it ruined, if you have a, because I mean, this has been out for a while. There is in this version, there's an introduction where Stephen King wrote this in September 20th, 2000. It kind of gives away the ending. So skip the introduction if you don't want it ruined. But do read the introduction at some point, because it talks about how out of all the books that he has written, this is the one where he thought he went too far.
I'm going to give it a try, folks.
Yeah.
So come and join us on October 20th for that. I'm going to see if I can wrangle in a guest. I have one in mind. We'll see if they're up for it. I'm going to let my fabulous co-host and fellow book club members give their outros, let you know where they will be at next. Everybody who came and joined us in the live chat, thank you so much. Richard, thank you for always coming and hanging with us. Very cool. Thank you so much. And to Eva and Sako and everybody else who came in to say hello. Thank you, guys. And if you're watching on the replay and you want to give your thoughts, leave your thoughts down in the comments and I will respond back to you. Yep. So let's, who went first last time? Natalie, I think you go first this time. Did Ben do, I think Ben did the intro first.
Yeah, because I was up first.
Oh, yeah. We got
Natalie Locke. Follow me as Writer Locke on Instagram and TikTok, because I do monthly reading wrap-ups, as well as the book versus picture. I will say for September, I haven't been posting book versus picture. That's because September is the crazy month for my job. And I'm not, let me just put it this way, 9 to 5 is non-existent. It's more like 9 a.m. to 5 a.m. if we're going to call it. That's the way my job is right now. So lots of craziness happening. And thank God I've read this before, because otherwise I would have missed it. But yeah, if you follow me on there, you'll find out when I'm streaming next with Chandra Arthur, and when books are coming out, reveals of goodness, I can't think of words, cover reveals, any promotional stuff, it will come out, as well as you might get a few recommendations of books, because I'm quite an eclectic reader. I have a lot of nonfiction and fiction on there, just not so much fantasy. I am trying to delve into that a little bit more, I promise. So, but yeah, that's where we're at.
And I'm Ben Pick. You can find me every Monday night at Running to Write on YouTube. Tomorrow is Monday, and I will be doing 5 tips on how to write genius characters. So I have some examples of less than stellar geniuses in modern works. And so I will be comparing and explaining how we should avoid the faults that they made. If that's if that piques your interest, let me know. And
awesome.
Come hang out tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern time.
Great. Yay. Sounds great. Sounds great. And I'm Nia, the Vixen of Fiction, all over the internet. You can also find me on Twitch. I live stream productivity sprints there, and also here on YouTube on Tuesday nights. That is it for us, guys. Thank you so much again for everybody who joined us live. And if you're joining us after the fact, leave your thoughts down below, and we'll see you again back in October. All right.